ready. So this is for real. We're here.
Nothing is ever for real with us. What are we doing?
Hello, everybody. This is Tiffany.
What's up? This is Ariel.
This is episode 28 of Grab Your Cup podcast.
It was a little stumble.
Yeah.
Just a little razzle dazzle when you was introducing
it was
us.
a rough day.
Well. Thank you for the beginning.
Hello.
That's all she got for y'all is a hello.
Yes, but you wouldn't even believe it's Christmas time right now. Like,
Hey, let's talk about this real quick. So, 2 weeks ago, my son comes to me and he says, "Hey, Mom." Little backstory before I tell you this story. I made a conscious decision not to have any decorations up for Christmas.
You put your foot down.
No, I just ain't did it.
Oh, okay.
With that being said, how long? For about 5 years? Maybe 4 or 5 years?
Said about 5.
Yeah. My son says to me, "Ma, can we put decorations up for Christmas?" And I was like, "Sure. I'm going to go get a wreath.
Right.
Burn a candle that smells like the forest.
Holiday candle. Maybe a little greenery.
A little bit. Something with some fake snow on it.
Cranberry, maybe.
Or 2.
That wasn't what he was envisioning.
This young fella says, "Can we get a tree and decorations?" And there were so many ands.
So he's like Christmas. Like,
I said,
like he's in his bag. Like,
we're recreating an experience here. Got it.
He wasn't gonna let you put your pinky out of retirement. You had to come in.
He said, "Look, I got 4 good years with you, ma'am, and I'm gonna need all 4 of them." So I had to go buy a treat. He want to make cookies.
Oh yes,
he want to do hot chocolate.
This is a writer. Like when artists go to shows and they have a writer for what they need. He needs some things.
He also needs that $7,000 that comes with the performance that he's going to put on. Because at this point, we dipping into your Christmas money.
Right. Like how far you want to go? You might want to.
Hey, side note. I don't know if y'all follow me on Instagram, but I've been telling y'all my Instagram be lit. But I had an Instagram story on there because I went to Big Lots because bless their ministry. And you can order whatever you want online and walk to the door, go to the cashier and say, "Hey, I had an order online." And they will go get everything already bagged up for you. Scan the little piece of paper that they got stuck to your bags. Take your card. You walk about that thing. What? Come on through, Jesus. What have I been doing? Hey, and I said on my Instagram story, I was like, I really enjoy getting packages delivered to my house, but since y'all cousins keep stealing off people's porches, whether they got a camera or not, this is the next best thing. Like, I literally walked in and walked out. 5 minutes. Let's go. Bought a whole tree. Bought ornaments. All that. Click, click, click. Ding. We up out that thing. I was like, I should have bought more stuff.
Right, this is grade A customer service.
Just because. And the lady was like, "What's your last name, ma'am?" Step right over here. And she opened a whole different register just to ring me up. Sharon, if you are listening.
Above and beyond. Let's go.
You're amazing. And I don't know if no one has told you this. If you're feeling unfulfilled, you made a difference, Sharon.
Yes.
Okay? You are somebody.
Let's give it up for Sharon.
Her name's not Sharon, but we're going to call her Sharon for this here.
Of course.
Shout out.
Of course. Shout out to Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. All right.
You matter.
This is because my son decided to tell me the first week of December that he wanted all of this. Oh, boy, what? So, yeah, we making these things happen. And I also ordered all of his Christmas stuff online, too. And I'm going to go pick them up from the store also.
I feel like my mother is single-handedly holding Christmas down for my kids because I just don't got it. I ain't got no wreath, no Christmas coloring books, no, the Dollar Tree even has these really cute, like, light-up necklaces that look like bulbs, and I'm like, no.
Not doing that either.
You know why? Because I spent $75. And I'm trying not to be resentful. I'm really praying about.
You want to tell them what you spent the $75 on?
I think we need to marinate on the fact that $75 were spent on a field trip for 3 children, and I still need it to be explained to me. Like, it happened.
This wasn't the spring field trip. No,
like, this needs to be the end of the year 8th grade field trip to me. Like, that's the only reason I'm doing this. And you know what? I feel like back in the day, the packaging of what you got when you paid for field trips were different. Like, that was you got like a box lunch.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it paid for your trip, the bus, and your lunch.
Yeah.
It was an experience.
Mm-hmm.
I still gotta buy these people lunch. Like, what are we doing here?
So, the bus don't even cost $75.
No.
Are we all getting on the transportation for the public? Because that's $3.
Listen, it doesn't feel good. Anyway, my daughter got sick on the trip and threw up. Like, that's supposed to be a good thing. Like, what are we, like, it's not feeling good. So, that's about, I told them Merry Christmas when I signed their slips too. Like, I was like, hey, let's come here. Let's have a meeting. I just want you all to gather around, and this is your early Christmas gift. I've signed these slips. You get to go.
I hope Santa will be there.
Yeah.
Because he ain't coming here.
Oh, and then mind you, this year is something different as well. So, where you, like, are out of your Christmas box, I'm in retirement. Like, I'm going in retirement. I told them we're not making lists this year. You gonna get lucky with Santa this year. Like, we've been writing down what they're grateful for. Like, we've been having, because, I'm not feeling appreciated. I'm just not feeling good.
Listen.
The value is going down. We need to find a way to reignite the real purpose of this thing.
I just find it interesting. My son turned 13 and was like, hey, let's do the damn thing. I said, you didn't even want to do Halloween. I know, it's different. Boy. But then I said to myself, in 4 years, this kid's going to go away to college.
Not going to get this back.
And I'm probably going to have to, beg him and plead him to come. Probably not, because my kid love me. My shorty love me. But I might be in Italy, because the way this is going over here, y'all don't want me here. Y'all don't want me to stay here. And who am I to turn it when y'all trying to get me up out this thing? On top of the fact that it's a whole winter right now in Chicago. And I feel like I voiced this to you guys last winter, but I hate it. And I live in the wrong place to hate winter as much as I do. I literally hate winter.
What's crazy about this winter is it's not as snowy, but it's real crispy out there. Like,
I prefer snow
over as crispy
over cold. Because let me tell you something. When I was walking and that hawk smacked me in my face really like a shovel, like you just want to fight the air. Yeah. This is... When you breathe through your nose and your nose hairs freeze, that's aggressive.
No, yeah, it's offensive. It's like a whip. Like,
it's like
I stopped mid-walk. Like, whoa, did you run up on me?
Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah. Now my eyes are watering.
Yeah.
And as they water, your eyelashes is getting
frozen.
Little icicles on them. This is a vicious cycle I don't want to be a part of. Come get me. This is why I keep telling God to put me in the VIP section. This why. Right here.
Because you're doing work every day.
I don't want it. Okay? So, this... But like I was saying, I bought all my son's stuff online. All I got to do is go to the stores tomorrow, pick them all up. He just wanted clothes, game stuff, and shoes. And I don't buy adults Christmas presents because I don't buy adults Christmas presents. So that's my explanation for it.
There we have it.
For why I don't do it. So
you don't like them? Love them? Nope.
Right.
Okay.
So my son is getting clothes and shoes, a game, and a headset to play with a microphone and stuff because he think he somebody. Fine, whatever. He gets straight A's. Cool. But I bought all this stuff and I was just like, and we're done.
Right.
So I feel really good about it. Only I bought something on Amazon that's gonna be delivered to my house, so I gotta make sure that the people don't steal it. But it was only a $20 something, so that made me feel better about it. Cause y'all is out here
really stealing.
Y'all is out here stealing, and I don't. And I
Even
I hope you reach. Yes,
like it's no.
I hope you reach on a porch one day, and the owner open a door and he looked like The Rock, and he just bop you on top of your head. What's up, fam? And then you out that thing.
Right.
That's what I really hope happens. And then, New Year's is here, so it's right around the corner, boo. 2020.
You know what? I'm like ready for it. Like I'm done. I've concluded. We've concluded. I'm ready.
Hey, I wrapped up this year really good.
Yeah.
I did everything that I needed to do this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of times people think that wrapping up this year has to look a certain way. You know, everybody puts those
end of the year.
What is those things called?
Like I don't know, like the reflections.
No, the thing like I'm gonna go to the gym.
Oh, the resolutions.
Yes, yeah. Resolutions. Like people come up with all these ideas of what they're going to do for the next year, and I think all I wanted to do was make sure that everything that needed to be done this year got done. Like, I guess some people would consider it like closure or like, you know, neatly tying up this year with a bow.
Right.
I personally had a gang of things that I needed to get in order, I guess you could say. So, the interesting part is like that looks different for everybody. For me, what I consider as wrapping things up is about me accepting accountability for past relationships and situations, accepting accountability for how I behave with my family, accepting accountability with my friends. Like we talk about friendship on here a lot, and everybody knows we take friendship very seriously. Like, and I take friendship extremely seriously because I know how important it is. And I think a lot of people might have more connections with family, and I have more connections with friends. I have an extremely large family, and I'm not extremely close to them.
Right.
Like, my mom has 16 brothers and sisters. I got a gang of cousins. It's a million of them.
You know, off mic, we're going to go through some last names to make sure I ain't been bumping into none of your cousins out there.
Hey, yo, one day when I was in high school, no lie, sophomore year, I was talking to this guy, and he was talking about one of his cousins who went to the same high school as one of my cousins. And then he said his cousin's name, and I said, oh my God, that's so funny, that's the same name my cousin has. And he was like, that's not funny. And I was like, why not? And he was like, it's probably the same person. I was like, it's a whole high school, I'm pretty sure there's more than one person there. And I was like, I forgot my cousin's last name. Here's the thing. If your cousin don't got the family last name,
right,
you ain't gonna remember it.
No.
Like, she got her daddy last name. I don't know his name. So I was like, let me ask my mama what my cousin's last name is. And I definitely asked my mom, and she was like, that's your cousin. I was like, yo, mom, definitely on the phone with my cousin. Almost tongued him down at school. You might want to tell people who their family is.
Right. It's important. It's
Side note, I should have known he was family because he was fine. We definitely looked like we was related. Hey, go check my page if you're confused. Anyway. And I was like, because he got green eyes and he light skin, he gotta be a family member.
Right.
So, yeah, that almost was a catastrophe. Come to find out, I had like 15 cousins at high school with me, and I had no idea. And my mom was like, well, you know, you've never really been around that side of the family.
Yeah.
I need a Polaroid, ma'am.
Yeah. You don't have to make a book.
You ain't got a scrapbook on this thing? Like, you almost got me out here. out here doing the worst with the worst. Like, and how do you wash that off?
I don't think you do.
You can't wash
I don't
that
think
off.
you do.
But, you know, I've recently had a friend that's going through like a really tough breakup, very similar to my breakup that I had. And I always say that God puts me in people's lives for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, nothing by chance. And this year for her is going to close out different than this year closed out for me. And I think, you know, for her, she actually prayed for what she has going on, but she didn't ask God to prepare her heart for it. And what I've learned is whatever I ask for, at the end of it, I say, and Lord, make me strong enough, because this last breakup tried to take me out. And I mean, I'm kind of dope, so it'd be terrible if it actually had took me out. But the whole time me and her have been talking, it was about closure, and I think she finally got the closure that she needed for that relationship, but also for this year. And I got my closure some months ago. One day we'll talk about that, you guys. I'll be trying to open up, but then y'all be in my business, and people I know be listening to my podcast. And I don't need my inbox jumping. Actually, that's a text message. That sounds like
definitely a text.
Definitely a text message. I don't need that type of negativity in my life. I mean, y'all can keep listening though. Eventually, maybe episode 37, we'll talk about it. Mind your business. What is that like for you?
I was thinking the whole time, like, what do you define closure as? You said it, and I'm trying to digest it. What closure means to me. What I was thinking the whole time in my head was, is it necessary to get to the next step?
Absolutely not. Let me tell you something.
I think it's it can be an illusion sometimes,
but
right?
It irritates me because, so just like when we were talking about cheating, it's always said like the woman cheats for this specific reason,
right,
or she does this for that reason, and that's not always the case. So it's always said like a woman always needs closure, and some women feed into that, and they're like, I just need to talk to him so that I can get closure. And it's like, you really don't need closure, because what do you expect to happen with this conversation? The person's going to look at you and say, you know what, it was me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Because anything that doesn't meet what you've idealized it to look like in your head is going to feel like a disappointment.
Absolutely.
And then you still don't have it.
Here's the crazy part. Even if it looks like what you wanted it to look like in your head, it's still a disappointment.
Right.
Because if the person looks at you and says, you know what, it was all me, I did this, I messed up everything we had, I'm sorry, you're going to be like, you really destroyed us for this?
Right.
Where is the closure in that? And I think unless you specifically need to get something out, because for me, my closure came from specifically needing to get something out. But I needed to get something out so that I'm the type of person that has to I have to expel it. Like, I have to get it out so it's no longer inside of me. Like, once I get it out. So, when I needed closure, I needed to release so that I don't take those things to my next relationship. So, all the things that I discussed and I let out were me hearing and feeling what I needed to feel for the things I did wrong, for the things I did right, for the things I accepted, for the things that I allowed. And then I'm able to move to my next relationship without the things that I did wrong. Because in every relationship, both people play a part. So I was holding on to what the other person did. So, my grasp was so tight. Like I was holding on to it so ferociously that it was kind of like, I skipped over the part that I played. So when I went for, and I'm air quoting, my closure, I was basically saying all the things that I recognized that I did to contribute to the failure in the relationship. And these relationships aren't just with an ex. I had conversations with friends. I had conversations with family. I had conversation with exes. Like, and I had to expel it all. I had to just with like hot lava. Like, I had to pour it out so that it was no longer inside of me. And once you hear it and you acknowledge it, it becomes real. And that's how I function. Everybody don't function that way, but I function where I have to say it out loud. I have to address it. I can't just have it as a thought in my head.
I think closure for me used to feel like understanding. They were synonymous. So I felt like closure meant me and whoever, whatever the other thing on the other side have mutual respect and understanding, even if it doesn't lead to reconciliation but understanding is, I think, what I mentally associated closure to mean. And
okay,
I think if there wasn't mutual understanding, I may have then thought I wanted to be understood. Especially if it was something where I felt like somebody was disconnecting from me.
Okay.
If I felt like we could at least, can we have a conversation so you get it? You know what I'm saying? I wanted us to have understanding it, and then we can be done with the discussion. I think I had whatever closure should look like in that wrap up way last year, because I think that was my first time really taking on in a long time, and really there's been a lot of self accountability happening
Absolutely
over this way, and so now I cannot even think of closure having anything to do with anyone else anymore. It doesn't anymore. Like, what I understand it to mean now is different. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else anymore to me. So it's a personal contentment about myself. And I feel like I've gone through a place now where even in the past, kind of, I've been that person like, okay, it's the end of the year. Okay, so next year, you know what? I didn't get done this year. I'm going to do this. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. I'm just excited. Like, even when I said I'm looking forward to the new year, it's opportunity. It's not, so defined and like pigmented. Like, in the first month, I'm gonna focus on this. In the second month, is the opportunity. There are things I definitely want to make happen, but I feel grateful for opportunity, and knowing that there's opportunity to come in a new year of possibilities, that this one has concluded, and looking forward in that type of way. Closure now, to me, I feel a personal responsibility to closure within myself, because I've been forced out of my comfort zone through experiences that I don't get what I thought it could mean. Like, it's been robbed from me. I don't have the choice to sit down and have those conversations all the time of, we get each other. Like my situation with my ex, we don't understand each other. That's just it. That's just it. And the peace that's come with recognizing I get to not like that. I don't like that that's what it is. I get to not like it. And I get to still move on. Like, knowing that I own that part of all of that. I get to feel that emotion. We don't understand each other. I wish we would. It's still going to be okay. All of that can exist, and I don't need to sit across the table and us mutually understand each other the way I thought it had to look at one point before.
I don't think I ever needed or wanted. So, let me just say this. My fallback game is phenomenal. I was a quitter.
Okay.
Like, I will ghost you in a minute. Like, that you never existed. And then when we do see each other, speak like I didn't ghost you. Like, I'll be like, oh, hey, what's up? You do know I talked to you on Tuesday, then Wednesday. We never spoke again. Right. So how's life been? Like, but I was always that. I've never been the type of person that needed closure or understanding.
Okay.
I did not care if you understood, and I did not care if we came to an understanding. Like, because to me, when I get to a point where I don't want to deal with you anymore, you've done so much trash that it literally makes no difference to me. And the problem most of the time I have is people want to decide for me what they garbage look like. Like, I've had, like, there's plenty of exes that show up and say stuff like, you know, it wasn't that heavy. You tripping. Like, why you go to that extreme? And I'm like, I really wish that I could do the things that you did and know for certain that that would be your response.
Right.
Like you would be, I would be able to say to you, oh my God, you're tripping. It wasn't that big of a deal. Like, I had a dude that lied about having 5 kids. I had a guy that lied about being married for 2 years. I had a guy who I was dealing with. We went on a break. Well, what is it considered a break? I don't know. Whatever. We'll call it a break. We went on a break because, air quoted, we went on a break because he needed to get himself together. And when we came back from it, he's all like, yay, let's be amazing together. By the way, I have a girlfriend. She's crazy. She definitely hacked my phone, took all your pictures, and wants to put them on Craigslist. I'm like, well, little does she know that I was finding all them pictures.
Right.
So she just about to boost my numbers up. You're not going to embarrass me. Don't Photoshop nothing, okay? Put it what it is.
Right.
But, and then people come to me and be like, but do you know what you did? And I'm like, yes, I'm aware. Do you know what you did?
Right.
Because you don't get to put the weight that you want on what you did. I get to weigh it. You don't get to weigh it. And I didn't need closure for none of those situations. Not now. I didn't need closure with my son's father. I was like, all right, I'm good.
You never had those situations, though, that left you with more questions, or like, why does this look like this? I just really don't get why this looks this way.
The only time I felt like that would probably be my recent breakup. And I think it's because I expected more out of that relationship on a different level because I'm older. Meaning, I thought I was going to marry this person. I thought we were going to move in together and build. And in those other relationships, I did not see that with any of them.
Right.
So to me, it was like, yo, I was going to marry this person. And I never had thoughts of marrying anyone. Like, I was actually engaged. And I've been proposed to 3 times. I've been engaged once. 3 different people. Engaged 1 time. And even when I got engaged, I was like, I mean, this is cool. But I didn't have a color. I didn't have a dress. I didn't have an ID. It was just like literally the wedding ideas never popped in my head. I was never really big on marriage until recently.
Right.
Anyway. So the only time I actually questioned why does this look like this was when I had thoughts of becoming a wife. I thoughts of being a stepmother. I had thoughts of blending families and stuff like that. And it takes a lot for my brain to get to that point.
Right.
So because my brain had got to that point, I think that would be the only relationship that I ever thought, why does it look like this? I didn't think that with any of my exes. I never thought about it. I never saw myself legitimately being the wife.
Right.
I think it's cute to have those. I think women and men have those cute conversations where all like, and then I'll be in the kitchen cooking and you'll come behind me and kiss me on the back of the neck and smack me on the butt and I'll be making pancakes. Like, people make those really cute conversations, but I think the difference is when you have the thought of building and becoming old with a person. I never had those thoughts that seriously before, I don't know, 4 years ago.
Right.
Or maybe 5.
I think I found too that morphing that idea of what I thought it had to look like um has helped me personally in other ways that don't always evoke situations that maybe directly need closure. It's helped me more independently, like take on those areas of closure that's not directly related to someone, if that makes sense. Like
Yes.
there's some pain that I have that lingers from situations that is residual. It's not about the person. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Like, and that needs a certain level of healing.
Yeah.
If I only linked it to that person, I'd be having conversations that don't need to happen because they can't do nothing with it because it's not about anything they can. That's something I got. You know, I need to unpack that. I need to digest why this holds the weight today in my everyday because you gone. But
Right.
the pain or
Right.
the triggers, why is it lingering here? How I can effectively take on to move forth in a different way, and it honestly, um, I think it's helped change my outlook on a lot of things because the way I said, like now, even with my ex, that it it's like I can have that pain and it still be okay. It sometimes I would process things even for myself and setting goals where it had to go a certain way, and if it started to not, it would kind of close and crumble,
Uh-huh.
and kind of accepting the personal accountability of what closure looks like makes it more of a continuous of a conversation for me now than what it used to. So now it could be like, okay, I tried that. That wasn't successful. I can come back at it this way. There's now an add-on that used to not be there. You know that,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's a level of closure that it doesn't always have to be this kind of like grand finale thing. I think there's sometimes like continuous little small steps we take along the way that need to be concluded,
Yeah.
so we don't linger them.
I get
Okay,
that.
I messed up. I didn't handle that right.
Right.
Let me wrap that up. Let me close that. Let me move to the next thing.
I think I do that more so with close friends and family than I do in
Relationship.
well, what is that, romantic relationship.
Romantic, right.
I think I did that with my mom.
Mhm.
Um I think I've done that with friends that I have.
Mhm.
Um I have there are some people who were like really close friends that I had to take a step back from because where I was going in life and where they were in life, they were oil and vinegar, right? They didn't mix. So, and it wasn't because I had a problem with the person. It's not because I don't still love them. It had everything to do with me working on me
Mhm.
and having to choose me because for a long time I did not choose me.
Mhm.
I always chose what would make the other person
Mhm.
feel better and more comfortable. Hell, I did it with my son. I wanted to make sure that my son was okay because they tell you all the time like your kid needs to come first.
Mhm.
And that is true. You
Mhm.
definitely don't do anything to harm your kid, but do you stop living for your kid?
Right.
And I had stopped living for my kid because I felt like it was
You felt
only
guilty.
fair.
Yeah.
Like, well, he doesn't deserve this. And, I did this. So this is just something that I'm going to have to sacrifice. And while I was doing that, I'm building a negative foundation. So I had to get I had to come to a place where I was able to do that and be okay with the decisions that I was making. Um I I think with my family and my friends, with my closure, um it was more so like you said, being able to have an add-on.
Mhm.
Whereas before, with everybody, friends, family, or a romantic relationship, we when I was finished with that, I was finished with that.
Mhm.
And I had friends that I had n- no other reason besides where they were heading in life and where I was heading in life weren't on the same path, that I had to remove myself. And talking to them afterwards and trying to explain it, sometimes people have the idea or the mentality of you left me.
Mhm.
And it's not that you left them, but I can't hold your hand and walk into that fire with you.
Mhm.
I can I can see you in the fire and try to pull you out, but I cannot never let you pull me in.
Right.
Okay, it was like this when I was in camp when I was younger. I was taught to be a lifeguard.
Okay.
And one of the things they teach you when you're saving a person is you do not at no point lose yourself trying to save them. Meaning, if you feel yourself being caught in that undertow, if you feel yourself being pushed, because a lot of times when people are drowning or they're scared in the water, they'll try to climb up you. And when they do that, they'll push your head underwater. Now y'all both drowning. So you can't sacrifice yourself to save them. And that's different with your kids. I get that. But 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be your kid. It's somebody else. And I had friends that I could not sacrifice myself to save them. I definitely threw a life preserve out there. I definitely reached into the fire and grabbed their hand. But as soon as I felt them pulling me into the fire with them or pulling me under that water, I had to let them go. And I had to swim away or walk away from the fire. And a lot of people look at you and say, you left me. And that happens during that closure conversation.
Right.
Like, oh, well, you know what I'm saying? I thought we were supposed to be friends. You told me we always be in this together. And as soon as it started getting rough, here you go. Now you just walking away. I thought we supposed to go through this together. Yes. Not die.
Right.
Go through. Them two different things.
Yeah.
I can't go down that rabbit hole with you because you want some company down there.
And that's the thing. Closure is personal because
Extremely.
it may not look the same, or it may not look like that's the time frame for what's needed from one party versus the other. It may not look like in that sense where someone else on the other side might be expecting something from you that you can't provide because it's detrimental to you.
Yes.
And that's kind of when it becomes clear that it's need for closure. Actually, at that point in time, it's like, yeah, this isn't what this is going to be able to be.
Yeah.
So, at that, I also recognize, speaking of that, I just had, my text message went off the other day from a number that I haven't seen in a couple years. Like,
What's a couple? Two. About 2 of them. Okay.
Maybe 2. Yeah. Okay. But I saw it out the corner of my eye. It's funny because, like, I didn't...
The corner, yeah?
No, seriously. My phone was on the side of me, and I was like, I definitely think that's the name I saw. It's the name I saw.
Okay.
And I said, that's funny. Now, it wasn't personal. It was a group message. But it was really funny to me to even see that name on my phone. And I was like...
Well, that's an interesting turn of events.
And look, and I was like, yep, I don't feel nothing. Nah.
Sometimes you get to that point. Like, I've had...
It made me chuckle because I knew it was like passive. Because if you dare plug my name into your phone, okay.
Okay.
But I was like, yeah, I know me and the way I'm wired. At one point before, that would have sparked a bunch of things. Because I think about everything, and in ways you don't even got to think about it, I do.
That's true. You do that.
And so it didn't happen.
And you know what's crazy? I'm the complete opposite as you.
Yeah.
I think absolutely nothing. Like, remember I told you when that message showed up on my phone, and I was like, you want something?
Mm-hmm.
Next day, hey, quick question. You know what? Look, and felt nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But a while ago, I would have felt something.
Right.
But on normal circumstances, I feel nothing.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to people coming out the woodwork on things.
Another thing is, it kind of, I think of when I think of closure too, I think of the cheating situation with me and my fiance, and like there's undeniably leftover things to heal from that.
Yeah.
But that had to be closed. Like, there had to be closure over that this has occurred. This wasn't pretty, and a choice to move forward. And I think a lot of times when people find themselves, and it doesn't have to look like cheating in relationships, there's closure that needs to happen sometimes in relationships that aren't ending the relationship. Like you need to have closure to be able to move past, so certain things aren't lingering
Absolutely.
through, and then it's just burying or compiling, and then now we can't go nowhere because we got a lot of resentment.
Now that I agree with. Some things need to be addressed.
Yeah,
and there needs to be
some closure within the relationship.
And even if and I think a lot of times when it's situations like that, it's addressing it and setting boundaries for the future. Like a clear understanding, like, okay, so maybe you was confused on what not to do.
Right.
This is it. Right.
We're here. We're in the thick of it.
We're at the door of what not to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, and getting to that space where there's some understanding, your needs are met, and now we can conclude it.
So wait. Something just dawned in my head. What do you think men think about closure? Because in my mind, I think closure to men looks like, so we need to talk. You know how as soon as they hear from whoever they're dealing with that says, so we need to talk. Because I think another thing that has to do, the opposite end for men that has to do with closure is mental health. And I think because a lot of men are not allowed to be in their feelings, a lot of men are not allowed to be emotional, they're not allowed to address things. They're supposed to have more of the mentality that I do, brush it off and let it go. Like even when a woman comes to a man and she's all like, I just would like for us to get some closure. I don't need no closure. I'm fine. It's for you. Even if he does need some closure, or maybe he doesn't like the word closure. It has such a feminine tone to it. Let's just clear some things up real quick, fam. Yeah. Maybe he'll deal with that way better than the closure conversation. I never hear about men talking about, it's always women. It's never men talking about some, yeah, dog, I had to call up and get some closure real quick. Not never.
Well, yeah, I think men are usually in a position where they just have to deal. So it's usually like, this is what she said. And then I dealt with it. But I think men and women struggle, and that's what made me want to say that, because I think men and women struggle on how to have closure without closing the relationship. I think closure usually means done. Like, we're done. That's it. Like their closure
let's never talk about this or to each other ever
again.
We're
done. Like that it's done. That's what I think it means in that type of sense. So, like you even said there, because I know about talking to each other but not hearing what each other are saying.
Yeah.
I think sometimes for men, if a woman's expressing her needs and her boundaries and what she needs to have closure, after that's said and understood, it's done for a man, right? Like, okay, so we talked about it. There's no issue. But if there were things expressed that were needed in a continuous way to be able to get that closure from that dialogue, it wasn't done in the conversation. You see what I'm saying? The closure didn't happen when we talked about it. There were things expressed that are needed for us to get to there. Closure doesn't just mean a conversation. It may not be a conversation. Closure may not mean, it might be an action. True. There might be some things that are needed to bring resolution or to done. It may have to be an active word. It may have to be some dialogue, some time.
I think more men need closure. I would say more men need closure with friends, family, and relationship.
From mother down.
Top to the bottom.
Mom, cause dad too.
The chick at Starbucks that keep getting his name wrong.
Listen.
From the top to the bottom.
The girl at high school that wouldn't give her number to, like, all top down. Like, just let's go. Where did it start?
You know what? And I think men don't recognize how they hold on to like their grudges are
I made a face. I did. It was a thing.
Hey, yo, her nostrils were bigger than a mug. I was like, yee. Listen, it's so be, so I don't
the
know
amount of grudges I've been entwined in my life, the amount of men that can say,
I got grudges against me right now.
listen,
I don't care about none of them.
The
Just
amount
so
of
y'all
men
know,
I don't
care about you.
They got a lot of smoke for me. Let me tell you.
Listen, like the fire department. Ew. Like it's a lot.
I think. Well, here's the thing. I think sometimes it's hard to recognize the need for closure because when you think you're speaking about it in a past tense as it happened, you don't sometimes hear your current connection with it. Like,
absolutely.
Sometimes that's not always easy to recognize to hear.
Like when people say stuff like, you always treat me like, and then it's like, I haven't been with you for 2 years, so I don't treat you like anything.
Yes,
but it's okay. Continue with your story.
Like
see, this is what you always do.
Like,
that's when I told you on that last podcast, don't talk about me like you got some authority on me and we ain't talked in over 10 years. Like, don't do that. That's them holding on to what they think.
But think about in friendship or even in romantic relationship. If you know, like, you've been working on a trouble area and you've been trying to build, and then you get, see, this always happens. So what has been happening in the past 4 months? I mean, like, what is going? Update me.
Oh, that's when we go back. Oh.
Enlighten me.
Yo. I was listening to our past podcast because I like us. And me and you had this conversation about the word always.
Yeah, you know.
And you killed me dead. We are definitely going to talk about you. You're just like, it's so definitive. It means all the time. That means not one time I haven't done that. And I'm all like,
yeah.
That's not what that means. No, that is exactly what that means. I'm like,
well,
Lord.
Here's the thing. It's used that way. Like, my point is, besides my understanding, every time I've been told it as well.
But that's true.
That's exactly what it meant. It didn't mean like, nah, it's something to work on. It is being tattooed when you repeat it that way, because I believe in power of the tongue. So if that's not what it really resonates with, I
just feel like since I've been growing up, since I have grown up, since I've been little, I always say, oh my God, you always say that. And I don't mean always. Let me tell you something. I say to people, I'm going to call you back. I don't mean that either. But
that can be worked
on. So I guess in that language, I would have to change it to not you always, but you know, this happens a lot.
Yeah. Or you do
this a lot. You do this a lot. Okay?
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
And I don't like it. And that's fair. But sometimes, especially if you're not connected to being self-accountable, the repeating something that way makes that fact to you. And
that you do it
yeah.
all the time.
And now you're over here feeling like a victim. That's not.
That's them false narratives. I've been told I say those a lot. I mean, previously, I don't do this now,
right?
But because I ain't got no reason to, but I can see that being an issue. I digress. Anyway,
if that's an issue, because everybody think it's different. I personally know for myself, and that kind of the thing. Like, I feel like being more connected to areas that closure can be continuous makes me like. When I say I'm looking forward to 2020, I'm excited about applying my growth. Like, I'm excited about stuff that, like, oh, I'm definitely in my bag. I know better. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do. Okay, cool. And one thing is even that, as adamantly as I can say that makes me feel, I got to check it when I do it, too. Like, I really want to be intentional in my tongue and how I say things. So, I know that for me, I wish more relationships, because I think there's some relationships that fault because they don't know how to have continuous closure and how to work through stuff and close that chapter or that moment and get to the next part. It lingers. Like, maybe we stopped talking about it. Maybe we had a conversation, but it's with us in a way that's hindering how we interact in our present, that we don't know how to conclude. Some people have experienced different hurt, and I really don't think that has to be an extremity like cheating. It could just be conflict. It's I I don't know if you had seen it. It was like a Facebook story of like a wife like leaving her husband over some dishes or something, because at that point it probably had been so much lingering. This was it.
I totally relate to this. I have a very similar story, but it wasn't dishes. But I was about that thing. And it is always, I give this example all the time. It's like piles of poo.
Okay.
If you have a dog,
okay,
whether it's a big dog or a small dog, and you always let it poo in your backyard and you never clean up them piles of poo, for the first couple weeks, it's just some piles of poo. After 8 months, it's a whole yard of a bunch of poo. And it's the same thing that it just stacks on top to the point where it's just all poo.
Yeah.
This is all poo now.
Right.
I just don't. This is crap. It's a bunch of crap. And you walk out that back door and see that crap and you go, nope. And you just walk out the front door and never turn back. And that's very similar to how my situation was. But I think also because my give up game was so strong.
Right.
And also because I was such a quitter that it was easy for me to do that. While you were talking, I did think this though. I think because more men think the way I think. I think because we don't go after closure or that final conversation, we are not really good at problem solving, and we're not really good at addressing issues productively. I feel like when you go for that closure, you're trying to get an understanding, right? Well, some people just want to talk about people mama and tell them, and that's why your daughter bald headed like her baby mama, stuff like that. They
just want to get their feelings off.
Yeah.
And another thing.
Listen, strong pointer finger. And you know what? I think that's what I always thought that it was. That's why I was never interested in it. I'm like, look, you ain't gonna come over and tell me my sideburns is thick. I already know. Judge your mama, okay? But I think that I probably would have been better at having more conversations with the ability to understand than the need of being heard. And I think that's also what men often have an issue with, is a lot of women, not all, a lot of women have the need to be heard.
Yes, facts.
And a little understanding, but more heard.
Yes.
And men want more of their feelings to be understood.
Absolutely.
But because they don't have a lot of practice in articulating and delivering them, that while they're trying to express themselves, it doesn't come off how it should.
1,000% agree.
And I think that was what my fear was, and probably why I walked away from closure as much as I did. I don't know what that looks like now, because I'm in a position right now where I haven't been in a position with this new version of myself, this 2.0, where closure has come up.
I think you have, though.
Where? Oh,
personally.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes.
Personally, I think you.
I meant no new stuff.
No, right, but I think personally, you've continuously had to have closure with your old self. You continuously have to battle
that heifer. She be trying.
Old perspectives, old, habits, old things that don't propel you to where you moving to.
Yeah.
That's a continuous thing. Like, even the mind frame to not be a quitter, to not just say F it on things, like, that's a
because let me tell you, Every day, Tiffany.
That's what I'm trying to give. Every day. Give yourself your roses. You working over it.
You right. Hey, because how many times I tried to quit and you was like, girl, sit down. And I was like, first of all, you right. Don't talk to me like that. Tell me to have a seat. Talk to me pretty.
So that's what I mean. I think it's like you said. It kind of was the finger pointing thing, and mine was the sit down and this. And I think we both now have a different connection to what closure really can impact us and me,
right?
In a more personal way, because it's personal,
right?
And because we're being so intentional with ourselves and what we're trying to do, it's personal. I still struggle with prioritizing myself, giving myself credit, not being my worst enemy. But more often than ever, I'd be like, you know what, Tiffany, you knocked that one out the park. You you did a good job. I know you, girl. I know what you would have done.
Because I know who you is. Okay, I know what you're capable of.
You kept that octave as a 7. It would have been a 15. I know you, girl. You out here trying.
Yeah, I see you.
And you're doing it.
If don't nobody else.
If don't nobody see you, Tiff, I see you.
I see you.
Yeah, Tiff. I have those conversations with myself, and that never existed. And that feels good. At one point, I would have had those conversations and still needed the understanding.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't, and it happens at times.
Because we do have talks when you call me and you be like, let me tell you the conversations I've been having with myself. And I'll be like,
she out here moving. And I think that's why I'm like, my wrap up to this year is like, let's go. Okay, you out here working. Now, did everything hit the look that you may have wanted it to look this 2019? Probably not.
I think another thing that this will be my gem.
Okay.
For my closure issue, I feel like I am more secure. Mm-hmm. In the decisions that I make, and I don't question them as much as I used to want to escape from the closure. Like, I've made decisions in the past, and I was like, I don't know, Tiff, did I do the right thing? Talk to me and tell me that I did the right thing.
And you didn't want it to leave where it might could.
And now I'm like, I'm staying on that. And if a conversation comes from it, okay.
Right.
What else would you like to talk about? Because I got an answer for every question you got.
Right.
Because I've definitely come to an understanding of standing on my decisions.
Yeah.
And before, that wasn't a thing.
Right.
I would question my decisions. Am I making the right decision? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this the direction I'm supposed to be going in? Blah, blah, blah. As if, one, I'm not allowed to make mistakes.
Right.
But two, I was gonna get a whooping.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and to me, that would be that closure conversation. I don't care about none of that no more. We can talk all day. We can talk all night like Lionel Richie. And I'm still gonna stand on what I said.
Right.
And I can even listen to what another person says and goes, I can see that.
Right.
That's not for me though.
Right.
That's for you. And I can see how that could be a thing for you, for sure. Not for me though. But good talk.
Right.
What would your gem be?
I think I have 2, and I think when thinking of closure, you should assess if it's a need of closure is needed or acceptance is needed, because they're not the same.
Y'all should be clapping in your cars.
I think
at your desk.
I think sometimes we put a need for closure where it's supposed to be just simply acceptance. And it's kind of like, I always used to be the person that felt like everything needed to be talked about. Everything should be able to be talked about. I want to say all my feelings. I want to pour it out.
She ain't lying.
And I don't think that way anymore. And
thank God.
I'm okay with it. And I'm still navigating the boundaries of that and what that looks like and means. But it's made me more connected to myself to recognize that. It's made me more connected to my feelings, and that sometimes some things I feel simply are for me. Like, it's mine. I don't need to share it. I don't need a commentary for it. Sure. It is literally just mine. And I've had more anguish on that hunt of being understood, of having all this mutual understanding, that literally I only needed to understand myself. I wanted my feelings understood, but my own understanding of myself was enough. And giving myself that power back to just accept what is, that I cannot like something, and I don't need to share with nobody, because nothing they say changed the fact that I didn't like it. That's just what it is. Right. I didn't like it. Right. I'm not happy about it. That's just the truth. So I think sometimes we go on this rabbit hole quest of closure as we think it looks like, when really we just need a certain level of acceptance. And then the second thing would be break the mold of what closure has to look like. Because I think, for me personally, understanding that closure doesn't necessarily mean finale, and like pull the curtains out, the show is over, done, bow, go home. That's not what closure has to be. Right. That it may just be a moment. It can be small, it can be big, it can be continuous, it can be in multiple areas and within myself. Sometimes I've recognized that where instant moments where I've been trying to find closure with someone, I really needed the closure about my own feelings. Yeah. Like, I needed to wrap up that I was giving that too much energy. Why were you doing that? Like, right. That was where the closure really needed. But I started having this conversation with someone else about understanding. Yeah. And I'm more upset than I was before. And guess what? Still at the ground root of the fact that I didn't even need to be talking to you. Right. So I think breaking the mold that it has to look this way, because that sometimes will have you angrier with that person you're seeking understanding from. Yeah. And causing more damage by not being self-accountable to your part of that closure yourself.
For sure.
Those are my two.
Yep. Yeah. I feel good about it.
Yep, me too. Do the work.